Today we've got a game with over 1 million pre-registration. Now I'll be breaking down the combat, game mechanics, resource collection characters, along with some pros and cons so you can figure out if this is going to be worth your time. Now what am I talking about? It's Anchor Panic. Let's get started. The pre-deployment screen has your usual, but it's a little bit frustrating. I'll show you that in a second. You get a 5-character setup in this game. You start off with your first combat formation, but then you get the second one that unlocks pretty fast. Now, by the time you get to chapter 3, I think you get your third, and then I can't remember when I unlocked the fourth. It might be like one per chapter until you max out. You can see all your deployed ladies there on the left-hand side, and then they're also on the grid there. Now, if you want to change them out, you can drag and drop, but they don't just pick up and move. You actually have to hold, and then you'll see an arrow there, and then just drag that arrow to the slot that you want, and then they'll swap into that place. Now you can also click on them and then you can just hit remove if you want to remove them, or you can actually just click somebody else and then just deploy them into that spot. Now if you want to make any upgrades or changes to your heroes without going back out to the main operator screen, that's what the list on the left hand side is for. So you just click them there and then you can have all your options there to be able to do what you want to do, and then you can go back. Now your formation presets are down at the bottom. Now when you rename it, you only get 5 characters total, so that's what you're limited to. You just click over to your next preset, or you can actually just drag over, and all you do is just select your operators that you want and then save it, and then you've got your preset done. Now the energy homology, this is like an extra buff that you get when you have a certain number of heroes that are the same element. So for example, if you have like 2 quantum, right now I have 2 of the purple, can't remember what they're called, in this layout, and that's the buff that you get with your normal attacks and energy skills. So depending on which one that you have, you're going to have different buffs and everything else. Now the enemy info, this is exactly what it sounds like. You can see who you're up against with the enemy cards. Now their cards are a little different than the hero ones, and that's because it shows you the weakness to the element and element color that they are. So if you click on one, you can get the full details here, and then again you're going to see the weakness type and everything, but you're also going to see the skills that they have, and also you're going to see their talent, feature, and tenacity break as well information. So like with this one, the impact drill, when tenacity is broken, it tells you resistance to attributes reduces by 25% for 2 turns. So we'll go over the tenacity break when we go into the actual combat there. Now your recommended lineup is on the bottom right. This is going to tell you the level you should be on average and the elements that you should use for that particular battle. If you click on the words there, it'll tell you how the weakness breaks work. Now everyone has a blue bar called a tenacity bar, and then once you bring that to 0, then they enter a break state for 2 turns where they take basically a lot of higher damage. So pretty simple. You can drop that tenacity bar by using the stronger element against that particular enemy, right? So if somebody is weak against red or yellow, right, you obviously want to have that in. You're going to break that tenacity quicker. So if we hit deploy, we're going to go into a battle here. Now, if you want the best experience, what you're going to do is go into your battle settings, and then you're going to leave auto skip skill animation to on, and you're going to simplify battle info. You're going to leave that to off, and then display operator information you're going to want to leave to on, and then you're going to put the detailed information instead of simplified. So that's going to give you the most information on screen. And then if you've got like a new character where you really want to see how their ultimates look like and their skills and stuff, you're going to want to make sure that that's on. Now if it takes up too much time, maybe you're grinding out, what you want to do is turn off your skill animations, right? That way it'll just be a lot quicker. It doesn't completely skip the animation skill, but it skips like the big part of it. Now right now I have it on battle speed 1. I'm going to change that up in a little bit. But I'm going to show you first on the left hand side, we got the lineup of whose attack is up next. And then when the attacker's turn is active, you'll see their portrait down to the bottom. So that's going to show you both the enemy and you guys at the same time. Your top middle is going to be your formation of you and the enemy. Now you can't really click it, but it's going to show you the formation that I chose and then the formation that the enemy is. Now on the top right, you got your battle speed, auto combat toggle, and then you get ×2 speed, I think, in the second chapter, and ×3 by the third at some point. Now, maximum I think right now I have is ×3, and I'm like at the end of chapter 4 as I'm making of this video, so I don't know if there's another one. Usually ×3 is the maximum you get in a lot of these kind of games. I'm going to jump to another battle so we can finish talking about this here. Now for the auto battle, if you have it on, you'll just see your hero's portraits down at the bottom. And there'll be a highlight reel that'll be like around the current one that's attacking. Now you do get one more camera view if you toggle on the spectator view. And it's kind of more of like a over the shoulder point, and you get to like free roam your camera to pretty much almost every angle that you want. It's kind of cool. It's not something like I see very often. I almost feel like they should have had a built-in screenshot tool and maybe like the ability to hide the UI like in this particular thing, but they didn't really do that. But it's kind of neat. So you can just like turn this around. You can get like a close-up of the battle that's going on, and that's only available in auto battle. Now, if you turn off auto combat, you're going to see that the screen's going to change there. Now you're going to see your skills are going to be available for the attacking character only. So your heroes will still do regular attacks, but they won't use any skills, including their ultimate. Now the skill icon was going to fill up, and you can see when that one's ready to go. And then when it's ready to go, you just click to use it. If you try and click on a skill when it's not ready, you're going to get like this message on the screen. So the one that's ready, you can actually just click it, and then they'll just do their thing. I've got the ultimate available, so I'm going to go ahead and click that. Then you might notice that there's actually no spectator view when you actually have auto combat turned off. I think since your characters can still auto battle using regular attacks, they probably could have still given you that option. I don't see any reason really not to have it. You'd still be able to see your specials and your ultimates. I mean, maybe they just didn't want people to be too distracted or something. I'm not sure. I'm going to turn this on 3 and let this battle finish up. Now I'm going to turn on auto battle again. Now with your victory screen, the top right is going to give you your detailed battle stats. You can see the enemy and your characters, what happened. Now the experience that you gained is going to be there. This is a replay of a battle, so you're not going to see it right now. And then after you actually click this, if you had any items available, because it's a replay of a battle, I don't get any, then they would actually show up after that point. All right, so let's jump over to maybe a resource battle of some type. That way you can see what it looks like when you collect items and whatnot. So you can see that highlighted wheel around your character there, so you know that's the one that's attacking. And then again, you're going to see their portrait over there on the bottom left. That ended really quick because that was a lower level battle. So now I've got my victory screen. I'm going to tap it, and then my rewards will come up at that point. All right, let's do something a little bit harder here. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to spectator view. And then I'm going to put this on maximum battle speed. Now, one thing with the battle speed is if whatever type of battle speed you set it to for that particular type of combat, it could be like a resource level or like one of the other side areas, or it could be like your main campaign. If you set it to ×2 on one of them, like maybe in the main campaign, if you're playing like a resource level, it's not going to reflect there, right? You have to set it for that particular type. So if you last played that kind of thing, like maybe you're collecting some stuff you haven't collected in a while, and you last played it on ×1, it's still going to be stuck on ×1. So if you want it to go quick, just make sure you put it on ×3. And then if you want it to go really fast again, what you want to do is you want to auto skip animations. Oh, you know what? I accidentally had them turned on. So auto skip animations is going to be off if you want to see full animation. And here's one right now. So I kind of messed up there in the last battle. And then if you want it to go quick, turn it on to skip it. Ending screen there, battle stats again, click continue, and then you're going to get your rewards. Now with most levels, there's no ability, even in the resource collection, to auto go to the next battle. There is on, I think one of the modes, maybe 2 that I've unlocked so far, but it's not a common thing like you see in other games. All right, jumping into another. Now since I messed up and you didn't get to see all of the ultimates, we'll see how many can go off in this one. So I'm going to turn it on ×3 with the auto. And then maybe I'll turn on spectator view at the same time. Kind of alter that camera around a little bit. So you notice that these have some pretty nice rendered 3D stages. Obviously there's some fog and stuff going on there, so you can't see everything. I'm not sure if in the graphics settings if you can actually see more of that when you up your graphics, but in this particular device I don't have everything on ultra. So depending on who you're fighting, some of the boss stages, they're going to have ultimates too. I'm going to turn off spectator view. All right, and that ended. You saw a flicker there with one of her ultimates. Okay, let me go to a recent stage where the battle's going to be a lot tougher here. I'm not going to change my lineup. I'm just going to leave who I've had here. Now, if you actually do simplify the battle info, what's going to happen is you're not going to see all of the same information on screen. So you might see these little quick portraits there on damage and stuff that's being done. You're not going to see that if you simplify things. That's what the difference is there. And I assume that maybe they did that just either to keep the UI a little bit more clean, or maybe because every graphic element, might affect performance for some people. Not really sure, but it's probably something like that. Now one of my heroes is down. You can see that we got the little X there. So yeah, that wraps up how the combat works. I mean, what do you think so far? I'm glad we do have some manual control of this, but I'll talk about more in that like maybe in the final comments. But let's go check out the character mechanics. Now, if we go over to operator data here, this is where you're going to be able to see all of your heroes here. Let me select one. Now there's 3 main areas in here. It's possible one more might open up later, but it's essentially your details, your skills, and your ascension. There's other stuff here, but we'll go over that. Now, if we start off in the detail, you can see your basic stats. And then if you click like the class type, it's going to bring up more info. Then you can just tab over to attributes, and this is going to tell you your element type that you have in the game, and it's going to tell you information about that particular element type. Now, when you break through for every 10 levels, you have to play through the resource level for that color of the promotion badge. So for this example here, if I take a look, she needs to break through right now. She's at level 60, and I'm going to need these promotion badges in order to be able to get her up to the next levels. And I think that's again every 10. Now the promotion badges are actually going to be different depending on the class that you are. So these ones are going to be the yellow, right? Because that's the class that she is. Now upgrading this game is actually really easy. If I had it here, let me just show you. So let me grab somebody here that can be upgraded. So all you do is you hit upgrade here, and then you're going to need to select your battle reports. Those are like your experience cards here, and then you can just hit upgrade. Now, or you can just auto select. Now if you auto select and hit upgrade, it will use everything that you have to upgrade your hero to the highest level it can. So you can't just select like auto select and then have it maybe do 5 or 10 at a time, whatever. It's just going to do everything. So just be aware of that. I'm just going to click one here. It's going to bring her up to 5 levels. And of course it does less and less levels as time goes on because you need more of those. All right, I'm gonna go back over to Newcastle. Now I'm gonna go over the gifts and skins and the affinity, which is like trust area, in just a second, but let's jump over to the skills. Now to upgrade these, you need to have a skill nucleus plus like your main currency. So as long as you have those plus some currency, you can upgrade that skill. Now you might notice there's a skill grid range up here in the top right. Now this is gonna show you the range of the enemies that you're gonna be able to hit with that particular skill. So this one here, right, is just a 1 enemy, 1 by 1 square. And it should tell you there in the details as well. Some of these will tell you if it's a ×3. Usually they're ultimates. So right here, this is going to be a straight line 4 tiles across. So there's an example of that. Now for your ascension, you need chips for that particular character. It's very simple. It's easy to get those for, of course, like the R class heroes, but they're so common. When you get to like the SSR heroes, right, it's a lot harder, just like any other game. And then once you have that, you would just hit ascension. Now for each of these ascension points, it should link to a particular skill. And then once you get all of the outer ones done, then you can upgrade the ultimate. Now each time you ascend, it'll increase your star rank. It's going to be separate from your rarity class. So right now she just is like an SSR, but she has like no extra star rank. I've got some others here that actually have, okay, like Alicia. This is your main character here. So I've been able to do hers 3 times. So she's a 3-star, but she's still an SR character. Now over to the gift icon. This is like where you get some extra rewards for that particular milestone that it is for that character. So whenever you have something there, you just click on it and it's going to be there. Now the hanger, this is going to be your skins. Now you can turn the UI on or off if you want. You can zoom in and all that. And you can switch between like the 2D and 3D models for each of the skins that are available. Now this is like another area where I feel like they could have added an in-game screenshot where that could be like sent to your internal gallery or something, or even your device's gallery. So I don't know, just like a missed opportunity there. Now your little 3-line submenu here, this is going to be where you collect your crystal ashes when you hit certain trust levels. So as you level up their trust with the affinity and stuff, then you're going to have something there to collect. And then the heart is like the affinity in other games, and here it's just called trust. So this is where you can give the ladies gifts and stuff like that, and then it'll increase that trust level. Then every time you increase that trust level, it does increase the stats for that character. So it's not just like a cosmetic thing, it actually does help your character, which is pretty cool. All right, so the next thing on here is going to be the sigils. Now this is what you'd expect as in any other game. It's basically an extra item or trinket that gives you an additional buff. Now if your hero doesn't have any current sigils attached, then it'll say load, but mine already does, so it just says remove. So I'm going to remove it so you can see what it looks like. So now she doesn't have one, it says load, so you just click that, and then that attaches it for that particular character. And then you can just like switch over to your other characters that you want to without having to go back out by just hitting the portrait there and selecting one. Now you can also enhance these, and what you can do is you go in here and you just manually select the items that you want to, or you can just auto select. And again, it'll try and use pretty much all the items that it needs to in order to max out that particular sigil. So this one here is level 20 and it'll go up to level 40 next. So just be, again, aware of that. If you auto select, it's going to auto select everything, and then just clear material, and then it'll just take that back out. Now your other part of this is your refinement, and you need specific material to do that. So if I click on the refinement here, I don't have any yet, and that's because I only opened this up not that long ago. Now you also have empower, but you can only empower with SSR based sigils. You have to use an empower nucleus and then your in-game currency, and you get the empower nucleus from either dismantling other sigils or through like the shop somewhere. Now when you empower, you can add additional attributes, and then you can also reset the values if you want to. Now the last thing in here is going to be the model. Now this opens up after you beat section 3-7, but you're going to be collecting these models pretty much leading up to the point where you unlock it. Now there's two sections in here, this here, and then the model scheme. So what you do is you attach the models, which are kind of like an effect badge, in each available slot that you have there. And what you can do is you can hit load to just auto attach if you have any available. I'm gonna go ahead and just remove them, that way there isn't there. So I'm gonna hit load all, and you can see that there's a little red dot for there. That means that I can populate those two because that's what I have available. So if you load all, and if I had more, it would load up these other spots too. And then once you unlock all 6 slots, then you can actually use the model scheme. And I actually don't know completely what the model scheme does right now, so if you already know, just leave a comment. If I find out by the time I put this video up, then I'll append it in here. But that pretty much wraps up the character mechanics for the time being. So that's personally what I've unlocked so far at the end of chapter 4. Now getting to the game mechanics and modes, there's quite a bit to cover, so I'll try and summarize some areas, but then I'll get a little bit more detailed than others. So we're going to start right at the heart of it here. We got the operation. This is going to be where you access your main campaign. This is where you also have your other modes like the special battles, and this opens up after you finish chapter 3, then you get this. Now for reference, every chapter is normally 15 levels, and you need to have a recommended team of level 50 by the time you open up the specials, so you'll need to have your people pretty close to that in order to like win some battles in. Now down at the bottom we got challenge. Now, I know there's more to unlock right now, but out of the ones that I've got subconscious deep seek, maze, and sub-story. Now in subconscious deep seek you have 11 sections, and each one has like a varying amount of levels. You start off in edge zone 1, and then it has 8 stages, for example, but edge zone 2 has 10, so it kind of just depends. I don't know if you go through these, if some of them have 15 stages in here. You know, the main campaign again is 15, but these ones, they seem to vary. Now the deep dive here opens up after you clear mapping zone level 2, so I haven't played this area too much. So once you clear here, then you can open up that area. Now the primary reward in this section is crystal ashes. Now you've got the maze, and this has a lot of areas to play. Some are unlocked by level progress, and then some are by your main linker level, but you can see there's quite a bit here. Now it's essentially a game board style section, and this is like where you walk along, open doors, avoid traps, like use portals to advance and things like that. I'm sure you've seen other things like this, and your whole goal is basically to get the treasure, and then you have like other little bosses and stuff that you can attack. I think there might be some buffs too that you get along the way. Now the sub-story opens after you beat level 4-10. Now I barely had time to really play this, and it's a little bit confusing for me. It's similar to like an exploration mode in other games, so you complete missions to increase your battle record, and as that increases you unlock rewards and telet points, I think, but you have to pick from certain element types of operators, and you need certain points in order to be able to use those. So the higher the rarity you want to choose from, like the more points it uses to be able to pick that operator. And it's a bit of a mix between a story on actual combat. So as you go along the stages, some of them will be story based, where you spend like your coins to collect and get more of like there might be like a little gambling thing where it says, you know, you came across this thing, do you want to spend X amount of coins, you have a chance of getting whatever. And then you also have a chance to get like loot and stuff, and you come across these like particular merchant. Now other times you actually have to do combat as well, so if it says like a challenge, I think that should always be a combat level. Now I know there's more to it than that. It's a little bit confusing, but in any of these areas, if you hit the little like tooltip up here, you can click one of the areas and then it'll try and give you more information about it. Now your resources you'll be clicking on pretty frequently. You've got your resource drops. This is going to be like your main operator experience, your battle reports here, and you've got your commission. This is going to be your main in-game currency. You've got your base construction here. That's going to be like your titanium materials. That's for like your base upgrades, and we're going to go over that in a little bit. You've got your skill train. This is for your skill nucleus. So this is what you need to upgrade your skills. And you've got your sigil train that gives you like your sigil enhancers. So this is specifically for the enhancement part of the sigils. So remember, you have more than one thing you can do with them, just the enhancement part. And then you've got the sigil ascension. And this is like the last resort drop that I've unlocked right now. So you can get purification stabilizer. Now, one of the last things to talk about in this particular section is these difficulty tiers. So you'll notice here that pretty much in all these kind of levels, it has these different difficulty numbers. Now, depending on what it is that you need to get, some of these it might matter. So for example, if I go to the promotion train for these badges here, these particular badges, they have a certain type that you might actually need for that particular level. So like the difficulty level 1 promotion badge is going to be different than the one a couple of levels up. So as you break through your characters, right, this is going to be a different one. You're going to have to be able to get the other type. So the difficulty isn't just the recommended level that you need, but it's also for that particular type. So think of like in other games where they might actually have like a type A, type B, type C, right? So as you break through your character's higher levels, you're going to need to get the other ones to do it. But you're probably going to be coming back here quite a bit, because even if you've picked up a new SSR, they start at the bottom. So you're going to need the first one in order to level them up and break through. But also when you play each of these difficulties for the first time, once you clear them, then you can actually increase the amount of challenge times that you can do. And then as you progress through the level, then you actually can do this more times. So like for a while I was stuck on ×3, and I think now I can do ×6. So the more times you can do it, the more energy it's going to use up, but that is something that happens as you naturally progress. Now we've got potential material drops. This is going to be your promotion badges, like I just pointed out here. These are going to be specific for the element color that you need in order to break through. And then model material drops here, I only have the purple mode unlocked right now. Orange is going to be after level 5-6. So you need to first select a model type of what you want for each difficulty tier, and then you get a chance to get that type of model selection along with mechanical parts. And the mechanical parts are essentially enhancement EXP for your models. Now your next two big areas is going to be arena and base. Now the arena opens up after 3-11. Now when you start off, you get your normal and then advanced. You can't open up advanced though till you hit a linker level 40. That's going to be your main level, not like your other character level. So with normal mode, then you have to set up your defense and then your attack presets. And all you do is you just find match, and then it'll pair you up. You can also click your rank, and then that'll bring up a ranking list and a score. And then if you click server ranking, you'll get to see other linkers. Now most of these are populated with simulation data, so I'm assuming those are actually just bots. But if you scroll around, you actually will see some real people in there. So, and if you have one, you can just check out their records and stuff. So you can click on them and it'll give you more info and stuff. And then on the left hand side, you've got your records button here, and this is to see your particular history. And then the supplies link will link you basically to the arena shop where you can spend your arena licenses. Those are basically the things that you collect for battling in the arena. Now the base is very similar to other games. This is where you can build certain facilities, and those facilities will produce some kind of material that's helpful for you, but you need to populate each building with an operator, and they do fatigue out over time. So you use the dorm basically to rest them up when they get too fatigued. There's a bunch of games that have things like this, like Nikkei had it, Cat Fantasy, and a lot of others. Now there's a little something you can do to speed up your process. If you go into one such as the tutorial model, next to where it says basic battle report, that's what the building makes. You'll see this little icon there, and then you have a certain amount of these production robots. You can use that to speed up your resource making and reduce the time. And those robots, they do get replenished over time too. So you can see up at the top here, I actually have 229 at 240, so I didn't use that many. So you should get those slowly over time as well. And I think there's probably another type of building that you can do to actually increase that, or maybe even produce or replenish those more at a quicker pace. Now I'm sure that as your base gets bigger, then you probably have to manage them a little bit better than that. You can always click the overview here, and then you can see where everyone is deployed. Really cool. And if there's any empty slots that you forgot about. And then construction mode is so you can level up and then add more buildings. Now to level up, you're going to have these particular items, the titanium materials, and you can get those in some of those other levels that we went over. Now your union, this is basically the same as a guild where you can join one or create. And then one last area in here that doesn't really stand out much is the gallery. It's a little bit hidden. It's actually right here, and it's simply an index for the game. But if you want to check out the music, you can do that here. You can rewatch story elements. You can view the operators by category. You can look at the background info for all the enemies that you've come across. And then you can also look at the sigil and the model information. And last but not least, you got an index of all the names and the factions you've come across in the world. And there's a lot to remember. So this part is actually super useful because there's actually quite a bit to places to remember and the names. Now, no gacha game is complete without a daily resource collection. Now, if you want to know what you get, it's actually not too bad. And we're pretty soon after launch here, so there's still special events going on, like the 30-day login rewards and all that. But to be real quick, we've got your event section. You've got the welfare area, special, rookie, limited event. And then Argo isn't free per se, like you have to spend money and then they give you a free item every time you get one of those like cheapo bundles. And there is a maximum amount in here, but there is a time limit remaining of 18 days right now as I'm making of this video. So I'm sure that this probably will change out to different bundles when that time limit is up. Now the main mission list is actually at the bottom here, but it doesn't actually give you all your primary rewards in here. There's mainly two things here that gives you your activity coins, and then the weekly missions that give you like your crystal ashes gifts and more of those coins. And then Archivist next to that, which primarily gives you crystal ashes and currency once you have something in here to collect. Now there's also a little text chat with your operators. So games like again Nikke, Goddess of Victory have this. So every time you have a new hero, there'll be like convo in here for you to do. And then once you finish that convo, then the trust with that particular character goes up. So there's another way to do that without having to like give them gifts and stuff too. Now the last thing we'll touch on is the shop. Now, I don't see too many free items in here, but if you like spending your hard-earned money, then there's plenty of things that you can get, including the outfits. Now, they're not really cheap though. Some of them, they take this particular currency, and that's where you really have to spend real money in order to get those. Let me switch to the 3D here. But there's also another one, which is the outfit coin store. Now with this one, you can actually get these with the exchange tickets, outfit exchange tickets, and then you can actually collect those from the sub story. So apparently it is worth going there. So maybe finish that sub story as much as possible, and then you can get some of those. So wrapping this up, I found a lot of things that I liked about this game. This does have a strong storyline, and while it can be a bit hard to follow at times because they throw a lot of names and places at you, there is a cohesive progress to it, and the character artwork is done really well. If you look at a lot of the waifus, like they're very unique, especially even your SSRs, but even like your lower rarities, they have a lot of uniqueness to them, and that's very much appreciated. So I think my props are to the artwork creators, because if you look at that, there's a whole lot of detail to the costumes and everything. And I like the overall music in this game. It changes in pitch and tempo when you have like tense moments in the story, and there's more than like one combat track. I think it's like a rotating set, but you hear a different track, like say level 2-3 than you do 2-4 even, and the music in chapter 3 is like different than chapter 1 and 2. And then thankfully they didn't completely auto combat the whole thing. You can turn it off and you get access to your character skills, attacks, and ultimates, but I do wish that they did like a little bit more to it, and I'll touch on that in a bit. I haven't unlocked all the game modes yet, but I can tell there's more to get than what I have right now, and I like that they are pretty different from each other. The maze is different than the sub-story, and that's like different from the subconscious deep seek, for example. It's not just like you go into a level tier and then you just grind away. There's some difference between them, and you still have like all your usual arena and guild mode. Now every game has some negatives. As much as I'm glad I have some control over the combat, it really could use more. Like give me the ability to select the enemy, so that way my team can like wail on a unit and take it out, and then increase my chances of survival. And if they let you maybe turn on or off auto combat for specific units, that would have been like a huge plus. I think it was ETE Chronicle that let you do that. It was one of the recent games, and I feel like that should be something that should be normalized with a lot of these types of games. It's also pretty grindy at times. I know that's par for the course, like when it comes to gacha games, but some are better than others. You'll be spending a lot of time gathering battle reports, which are the experience to level up, and then the promotion badges to break through the next set of levels, and then you just repeat that. You do get a good amount of these purified tinctures, and that replaces like your main energy for the game. You can use those to top it off, but you're gonna burn through a grip of those because you need to grind out quite a bit. And I wish they simplified the story just a bit, because it has some strong elements, but because it has a lot of elements to it, it feels like some of the stronger parts kind of get lost in the noise. And there's also this like strange lack of emotion in the animations of the character design. I know I said that character artwork is good. However, when you're going through the story, the characters only move their mouths like a little bit at the start of a sentence, and then they don't always have good facial expression. So they just feel a bit stiff and almost robotic at times. So if you've played another game, maybe like a Cat Fantasy, for example, there's a lot of animation that matches the emotions of the character. I would say I hope they improve that, but that would be a massive update to change all those visuals, so I don't know if that's going to happen. Now, it's not enough to stop playing the game, though. I think it's just one of those complaints. Now, if I graded this game on a 5-star scale, right now I'd probably give it like a solid 4. If I used a decimal system, maybe a 3.8. But those are my thoughts. What do you think? They did a heavy advertising campaign with this one, you know, boasting the 1 million pre-registration. So are you going to play it? But that's it for this one. Thanks for the support. Be sure to check out my other videos. It's the best way to support the channel, along with liking the video and maybe subscribing if you really like it. This has been Blue Screen of Tech, and I'll see you in the next game.